Hello and welcome to the World News on VOP TV. I am Sumto Ajama. Today, a court in Russia's far eastern city of Vladivostok convicted a visiting American soldier of stealing and making threats of murder, and it sentenced him to 3 years and 9 months in prison. Black sentencing further complicates U.S.-Russian relations, which have grown increasingly tense as the fighting in Ukraine continues. Black was on leave and in the process of returning to his home base at Fort Cavazos in Texas from South Korea, where he had been stationed at Camp Humphreys with the 8th Army. Cynthia Smith, an Army spokesperson, said Black signed out for his move back home, and instead of returning to the continental United States, Black flew from Incheon, Republic of Korea, through China to Vladivostok, Russia, for personal reasons. Under Pentagon policy, service members must get clearance for any international travel from a security manager or commander. The U.S. Army said last month that Black hadn't sought such travel clearance and it wasn't authorized by the Defense Department. Given the hostilities in Ukraine and threats to the U.S. and its military, it is extremely unlikely he would have been granted approval. Black's girlfriend, Alexandra Vashkok, told reporters earlier this month that it was a simple domestic dispute during which Black had become aggressive and attacked her. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu criticized the Biden administration for withholding weapons from Israel. In response yesterday, the White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said the administration doesn't know what Netanyahu is talking about. She said the administration is having constructive discussions with the Israelis to release that shipment. President Biden paused one shipment of ammunition in May, with reports saying that it wasn't connected to previous threats by Biden to withhold weapons over Israel's plan to invade Rafah in Gaza. Netanyahu said Blinken assured him that the U.S. was working day and night to remove these bottlenecks, but Biden has become increasingly critical of the way Netanyahu has been handling the war between Israel and Hamas. He said in an interview earlier this month that there is every reason for people to draw that conclusion that Netanyahu has been prolonging the war for his own political self-preservation. North Korea and Russia have signed a treaty containing a mutual defense clause. Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korea leader Kim Jong-un announced today during a rare Putin visit to Pyongyang. Following a day of highly publicized events, Putin and Kim signed a comprehensive strategic partnership agreement, formally upgrading relations that have expanded since Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine. The text of the agreement has not been released, but following the signing, Putin said the deal contains a clause that provides for the provision of mutual assistance in the event of aggression against one of the parties. Following the signing ceremony, Kim called Russia the most honest friend and comrade, insisting the treaty is peaceful and defensive in nature. The development is sure to rattle Western leaders who have condemned Russia-North Korea cooperation as a violation of international law. U.S. officials accused North Korea of supplying Russia with thousands of containers of ammunition, including ballistic missiles, for use on the Ukrainian battlefield. Today, Taliban spokesman Zabihullah Mujahid dismissed UN Special Rapporteur Richard Bennett's recent report as an attempt to mislead public opinion ahead of the Doha meeting. Mujahid made these remarks in a post on X in response to Bennett's report that states that the systematic oppression of women and girls by the Taliban could amount to crimes against humanity. Bennett also urged the UN not to treat the Taliban as a recognized government in Afghanistan. Mujahid countered by accusing certain UN officials of consistently delivering inaccurate reports about Afghanistan. Without addressing specific issues, he dismissed the human rights and women's rights concerns highlighted in Bennett's report as limited subjects that overshadowed the significant progress made by the Taliban. Despite this criticism, Mujahid welcomed the supportive stance of some UN member states, noting their advocacy for positive and constructive engagement. Bennett, who presented his report yesterday at the UN office in Geneva, called on the Taliban to take immediate steps to restore the basic rights of women and girls. He emphasized using all available tools to dismantle the entrenched system of gender-based oppression by the Taliban and to hold those responsible accountable. Bennett noted that these tools include international accountability mechanisms such as the International Criminal Court and the International Court of Justice. He also stressed that he would oppose legitimizing the Taliban leadership until significant, tangible, and verified progress is made on human rights issues. The UN Commission of Inquiry head, Navi Pillay, says Hamas and other Palestinian armed groups also committed extensive war crimes, including sexual violence during the war. She listed the crimes as intentionally directing attacks against civilians, murder or willful killing, torture, sexual violence, inhuman or cruel treatment, and taking hostages. She stated that the UN Commission had identified patterns indicative of sexual violence and concluded that these were not isolated but perpetrated in similar ways in similar locations, primarily against Israeli women. However, she warned the exploitation of sexual violence in conflict by all parties for political propaganda risks diverting attention from the experience and from the needs of the survivor, as well as fueling long-standing hostilities. In another news, the UN has reiterated its call for a ceasefire and for the complete cessation of hostilities. UN Commission of Inquiry head Navi Pillay spoke for the UN, calling the immediate and full end of the siege, release of all detainees, including all of the Israeli hostages, and for Palestinian armed groups to stop the indiscriminate firing of rockets into Israel. Pillay added that all parties must protect civilians and civilian objects, and attacks against the UN agencies and humanitarian actors must stop. The UN called on Israel to ensure the Commission's immediate access to the Gaza Strip in order to investigate and preserve evidence in compliance with the order issued by the ICJ, the International Court of Justice. Pillay added that Israel had ignored the request that they have submitted to them. Meanwhile, China and Malaysia have agreed to renew a 5-year economic and trade cooperation pact. This deal, which will deepen relations between the two countries as they mark 50 years of diplomatic ties, was signed during a trip by Chinese Premier Li Qiang today. The visit to Malaysia's administrative capital, Putrajaya, was the last leg of a regional trip intended to expand China's influence in the Asian Pacific as geopolitical tensions with the United States rise. Following private talks, the two leaders witnessed the signing of various pacts, including the economic and trade deal. Officials said that the pact would strengthen links between industries in priority sectors like high-level manufacturing and the digital economy. Other agreements signed aim to promote investment in green development, combat transnational crime, and boost housing and urban development, higher education, people-to-people exchanges in science and technology, and finally, tourism and cultural cooperation. You are still watching the World News on VOP TV. More stories after the break. Do stay with us.
Catch up with the latest topics making the buzz, the stories that tick, the trends. Let's let you in on why they are trending, from politics, entertainment, business, lifestyle, and more. Analyzing the trending stories with top eyeballs. Hashtag on Voice of the People Television, giving you an insight to everything and everyone Nigeria is talking about. Showing on VOP TV, 10 p.m. Monday to Friday. Hashtag if it's trending, we bring it on.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying tuned. The Philippines and China have both blamed each other for the clash on Monday near Second Thomas Shore in the contested Spratly Islands, with a statement from the Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs today providing the first official confirmation from either side that injuries and damage were sustained. It follows multiple reports of injuries to Filipino sailors carried in local media as well as from U.S. officials. In the statement, the Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs denounced the illegal and aggressive actions of Chinese authorities that resulted in personnel injury and vessel damage without specifying how many sailors were wounded or providing any details of their injuries. An anonymous source stated that at least 8 Filipinos were injured in the incident, including one sailor who lost a thumb. When asked about the incident in a news conference today, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian said law enforcement measures taken by the Chinese Coast Guard on the spot were professional and restrained, aimed at stopping the illegal fishing by Philippine ships, and no direct measures were taken against the Philippine personnel. This incident is the latest in a string of confrontations between the Chinese and Philippine ships that have raised the possibility of the South China Sea becoming a flashpoint for global conflict. It comes just weeks after Philippine President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. warned that the death of any Filipino citizen at the hands of another country in the waterway would be very close to an act of war. Also, the United States has approved the $360 million sale of more than 1,000 small armed drones to Taiwan, as the self-ruled island claimed by China aims to strengthen its asymmetrical warfare abilities with an eye on successful tactics used on the battlefield in Ukraine. Taiwan will receive 720 Switchblade missiles and accompanying the fire patrol systems worth $60.2 million, according to the U.S. Defense Security Cooperation Agency, DSCA, yesterday. In addition to up to 291 Osher 600M loitering munitions and supporting components with a price of $300 million on their head. The proposed sale comes as China increases military pressure on Taiwan with extensive military exercises around it and mostly daily and almost daily warplane flights near the island. China's ruling Communist Party claims despite Taiwan as its own, despite not ever having to control it, has vowed to reunify with the island by force if necessary. Under the Taiwan Relations Act, Washington is legally required to provide the islands with the means to defend itself and supply Taipei with its defensive weaponry. We'll go on a quick break, and up next will be business, entertainment, and sports. Stay with us.
The red carpets, awards, the razzmatazz, music, fashion, interviews, and more. Spotlight on Voice of the People Television. Let's feed you with all the juicy stories in the global entertainment space, bringing you the glitz and glamour as it is hot. Stay tuned to Spotlight, 1 p.m. Monday to Friday. Spotlight on VOP TV. Entertainment like never before.
Welcome back to the world news, and now we go on to business news. McDonald's has paused its AI ordering technology in over 100 US drive-thrus, marking a hiccup in its push for automation. The system, developed with IBM, faced challenges with recognizing accents and background noise, leading to inaccuracies. McDonald's will stop using the AI by July 26, 2024, as it reevaluates its strategy. Despite this, McDonald's remains committed to finding scalable AI solutions by the end of 2024 continuing its partnership with IBM and exploring all other AI options. This move highlights both the potential and current limitations of AI in the food industry. Netflix is set to open large entertainment venues called Netflix Houses in Dallas and King of Prussia by 2025. These venues will offer immersive experiences, themed events, gift shops, and restaurants inspired by the popular shows like Squid Game and Bridgerton. This expansion aims to diversify Netflix's revenue amid streaming industry competition. This initiative follows the success of Netflix touring production and immersive events, reflecting a similar strategy to Disney's. Netflix hopes these venues will enhance fan engagement and create new income streams beyond streaming. NVIDIA has become the world's most valuable publicly traded company, surpassing Microsoft and Apple with a market capitalization of approximately $3.3 trillion. This milestone was achieved following a 3.4% stock jump, fueled by surging demand for NVIDIA's GPU chips, which are essentially for advancements in AI technology. Under the leaders of Jensen Huang, NVIDIA's profits have soared, with a recent net profit of $14.9 billion and revenue of $26 billion, nearly quadrupling from the same period last year. Analysts from Wedbush Industries predict a competitive race to a $4 trillion market cap, among NVIDIA, Apple, and Microsoft, highlighting NVIDIA's critical role in the tech sector's evolution. Quickly heading on to entertainment news, Quavo doesn't want his late nephew and fellow Migos member Takeoff's gun-related death to have been in vain. Yesterday, which would have been Takeoff's 30th birthday, Quavo co-hosted the first Rocket Foundation Summit in collaboration with U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris and the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention at the Carter Center in Atlanta, Georgia. At the beginning of the event, Quavo told reporters he's been working to make sure he turns tragedy into triumph. Takeoff was shot and killed during a private party in Houston, Texas in 2022. He was 28. Quavo and Takeoff were part of the rap trio Migos, along with the fellow rapper and relative Offset. Quavo said he felt overwhelmed on Tuesday, but is committed to helping people to reduce gun violence. And now moving on to sports. After a shaky start to England's European Championship campaign that had critics questioning his starting spot, Phil Foden insists his partnership with Jude Bellingham will only flourish. Foden was a headliner this past Premier League season, pouring in 27 goals for Manchester across all competitions to win Premier League Football of the Year honours. But lining up on the left of a front three in England's 1-0 win against Serbia, with Jude Bellingham occupying the central number 10 position, in which Foden has arrived with CS, he drifted out of the game. World champions Argentina get an expanded Copa America underway on Thursday, with Lionel Messi looking to add a second continental title in what is almost certainly his final appearance in the tournament. The 108-year-old competition is being held in the United States, with the host nation among 6 teams from the CONCACAF region joining the 10 South American nations looking for a place in the July 14th final in Miami. While FIFA will be looking closely at the organization of the event 2 years out from World Cup, which will be co-hosted by the USA, Canada and Mexico, the tournament's rich history and prestige means it is much, much more than a trial event. Argentina have won the Copa 15 times, but only once in 2021 during the Messi era, and coach Lionel Scaloni has stuck largely with his World Cup winning squad, with veterans Angel Di Maria and Nicolas Otamendi likely taking their final bow in a major tournament. And that is a wrap on today's World News on VOP TV. I am Sumtu Ajama. Good evening.